Hey, it's Mac with PriceActionTradingSystem.com, and it's Wednesday. It's January 23rd. This will be our chart lesson for the day. We had a really nice downtrend here. There were a couple of nice trades off of this as well. There's really a couple of legs down, and we really got more than two measured legs. But we had this leg down. We had a break and a new low, and we had a little bit of correction. Then we just started another leg down. And once we started lower, I would have just measured this leg and then look for a possible measured leg. And you can see we bounced right in there, but we pushed lower. That you'll see that a lot, and then you reverse. So that would have given you a nice target on a couple of these entries here. And then we just rallied from there on. We got a little overdone here. The one thing that you don't see here, you did get a little overshoot here, then a break and a new low. Then we had this little correction, and that's a two-legged correction. That's generally going to be the center of the pattern. But on this next channel working down, notice we didn't really get an overshoot. We didn't really get a break and a new low. Market just decided it was reversing, and it reversed. And that happens sometime. And of course, we got a spike up in a two-tiered channel here with a break and a move to a new high, and then we just went sideways again. But the break really got you into the 2 o'clock hour here. So, and early on we had a little trend up, and this is way too steep. This is still too steep here. So you couldn't rule out that we may not even get flatter than that. But once we had a break and new high here, we just reversed. So. In the big picture, we really changed. We closed almost, well, we actually might have closed up a little bit today. We closed down here at 12, right about where we're trading now, a little lower, 12.72 or so yesterday, and we closed at, I'm sorry, we closed at 26.31 or so yesterday, and we closed at maybe 26.41, maybe 10 points up or so. So interesting day to say the least. But basically we traded on both sides of that and closed somewhere near where we closed yesterday. So the market really didn't, even though there's some nice movement here, we really didn't go anywhere today. And that's the beauty of day trading, is this is all we need is a good move in any direction, and we can make money. We don't have to worry if the market closes unchanged overall. That's irrelevant to us. As long as we got some movement and we got enough movement to find a trade and get on and get some of that movement, then we did good. So just keep that in mind. That's the beauty of day trading. Plus, you don't carry any trades overnight, so you don't have to worry about something crazy happening while the market's closed and then reopening. And of course, trading 24 hours these days, you don't have as much problem with that. But the margins, the reduced margins for day traders is really nice too. So, but anyway, let's talk about the trades. We had this channel working up. 7 o'clock came in here while we're working down, and we really just get two legs down to the EMA. That's the first break of that, and that's really steep. So, you could still reverse, and this could end up being a range day or whatever here. But you would still expect with that nice a move up, the prices will try to at least attempt to retest even if they don't make it. So this second entry long right at the EMA with the relatively bullish kind of this is like a reversal type bar. That's a pretty good setup. I like that one. That was a quick, easy move, and you could have got a runner on this too. We didn't come back and get the runners here, and prices just kept moving higher. There's a higher low here. Signal bar is not very good, and then once we broke lower here, as soon as we broke higher, it was a failed second entry short. And you got a nice reversal bar right off the EMA that just further continuation of this trend line. And I like that entry right there. And like I said, when it broke higher here, it was a failed second entry short too. So that was a nice trap. Notice how it ran up. And then we back up and we get another. This is almost a repeat pattern of this right here. Notice how you got a little bit of sideways action, you drop down, a little bit of sideways action, you drop down, and you actually get another little repeat pattern right here. It almost does the same identical thing as this pattern in this one. And so I like going long right there. This one's real close to being blue, but we've already had a break and a new high off this channel. Now we've got a break. We expect we might get a new high on that one. You could argue this is real close to being blue, but I still think that's a little risky. You got a little bit of congestion there. This one's even closer to, because this is almost a perfect repeat pattern of this. You could probably argue for this one to be blue, and because it is a repeat pattern, we saw that pattern almost 3 times there. And this one could go either way. I could mark this one blue, but I'm still going to leave it green because it's, we've already had a break of both channels and a new high in place. But those repeat patterns generally, if the context is good, you want to take those trades. So, and you can see they would have worked in both cases here. We shot up, made a new high, came down. Look how we pushed through the EMA, pulled back. It's tempting to go short right there, but there's a lot of support right across there. This low's not very far. This one's not even much further. And you see how we bounced there even though it went lower. But you could just wait, and there's your failed second entry long right there. Another bearish bar and a little breakout pullback short. That's the better spot to enter. Off it goes. There's a lower high here, but now you've really got 2 measured legs down. I'm not crazy about entering that one. And you've just been too far away from the EMA by the time you get out here. But notice you rally or you bounce. First entry short, you move up. There's a second entry short right there, relatively bearish bar right back. We're not quite back to the EMA, but that's probably close enough. We did get an overshoot here, so you got about an equal here. You might want to wait on a lower high, which comes here. It did not break higher, but to try to go higher once, twice, 3, 4, 5 times, and then give you a second. Well, this is not really a second entry short. You had a little tick here. That's still close enough to be a second entry short. That one little tick lower there. I mean, that's really all one move there. So on a bigger picture, it's still a second entry short. You could probably even argue for this to be a failed second entry long right here, even though it didn't break higher. And it did go higher first and then turn down. But we've already got a break and a new low in place. I just think it's too risky to enter any further down here. And you see it's not long before it bounces. And you actually get 2 legs up. This one is really tempting here. It's a second entry short, and there's 2 legs up, and it's a small, relatively bearish bar. Let me make that a little bigger. That's kind of hard to see. There's only a few ticks in that bar. You could argue for that one. I didn't mark it because we already had our move down, a break, and a couple of legs down, so it wouldn't be out of context to get a reversal here. It doesn't happen. We just keep going lower. And then notice what happens. You move up first entry, you get a second entry short right there. I would expect to at least get a measured move like this, and then I would measure this big one and see if you don't get a measured move on it like I showed you earlier. But I would measure this shorter term one too, and look for a measured move in there. And you see we went a little further than that too. The market really got weak here for a minute, but that's a nice second entry short. I don't have it on here, but you can see there's a little trend line working up through there, and you get a close outside move to a new high. There's a lower high here, not a very good signal bar, and then there's your failed second entry long right there. I like going short there. And it's right off this shorter term trend line working down through here. Boom, off it goes. Now you're getting past your measured move, and even though this is right off the trend line, you might risk that one, looking for it to go here. You're going short at the low of the day. You're way away from the EMA. I just think even though it's off that key entry point, I think you're better off to skip it. And notice what happens. You get a first entry and then a second entry. Not a very good signal bar, but it makes a lower high here and gives you a good signal bar. That's where to enter. And again, it's right off that main key entry point. Now you got plenty of room to get out. Nice move down. First entry, second entry, and another second entry right off the key entry point, the EMA, a big bearish reversal type bar. Another nice move down. There's a lower high here, but you're right into that double bottom, and you see what happens. That's why you got to be careful with those. and it bounces. And this is where you got to be a little bit careful about trying to get a reversal, but that's a really strong move. Notice we're working up. You get a first entry and then a second entry, and you actually make a little double bottom there right off the EMA. That's what you kind of want to see on a reversal. That's worth trying to get a scalp out of, and if it does turn out to be a good reversal, you may go higher from here and you may get a runner. Doesn't work out that way. It runs up, you get a first entry, a second entry. It fails. I like going long there, and at that point you're thinking, hey, we may get a measured move from right here. We do end up making a measured move, and you can see how we found a little resistance across there, but this thing just keeps going. So, and you really were hoping it would go from right there. Doesn't happen, but generally these set up better when they're closer to the EMA. So that one's a little risky. I marked it green, but notice what happens. You pull back, first entry, and then you make a second entry long right here, and you got a nice bullish bar on second entry long. Off it goes. And then we just kind of going sideways here. I think you're better off just stay out. We are making higher highs and higher lows. There is a failed second entry short here. Notice that low is lower than that one. First entry, second entry. Really neutral bar. You could still argue for that one. I didn't mark it. It's right off the midline there. This is a spiking channel with a two-tiered channel. And again, you get a little repeat here. Notice that low is lower than that one, then first entry, second entry, and another neutral bar. But now you're going long into a lot more resistance. Again, you could argue for it, but I think you're better off to skip that. And the better trade is right here. You got a new high, then a first entry, come back right to what you hope to appear the. And I got this line off the highs. I drew it up here and drug it down, and it confirmed it right there. I like going long there. There's actually a second entry short here that would be tempting, but this is an uptrend and everything's still inside that channel. So even though you got a little trend line working down through here, you almost have to skip that one. And there's another short right there. We end up, you can't see it because this line, there it is. You can see there's a little, it looks like we're going into a little range here, and you get a little failed break lower with a higher low right there. I wouldn't have a problem going long right there because you do have a break and a new low, and you haven't had a retest of the high on this. This is a pretty strong trend up, so you may take that one right there. I'll at least mark it green, but you could almost argue for that to be blue. That wouldn't have been a bad place to enter, to be honest with you. The only real issue that, notice how it's closing back inside that little range across there. Only issue is it did close still below that trend line, but you already had a break here and a move to a new low. You just never know if it might push down for another leg, and it may just reverse because it could just end up, I mean, this is looking a lot like a range day too, so just something to keep in mind there. But anyway, not a bad day. This was where you really wanted to make all your money on this down. This was the easy part right here. Picking these reversals, this gets a little tricky. So this was the place to make your money early today. And you only had to catch one or two of these. Several of them had runners. And you might have caught one of these early on. A couple of these had runners too. So just about every one of those trades earlier had a runner of some type on it. And that's rare when you get so many runners in a day. Usually you might get, out of a day like this, you might get one or two, three at the most, but there were several of them all over this chart today. Even some of the green ones would have had runners at some points. So anyway, that's what I saw today. I'm just trying to think if there's anything interesting to maybe point out today. The one thing was, you had this channel this real tight trend coming down with a break and a new low, and then like we were going to reverse, and then you just got another trend that started down. You don't see that as much. Happens sometimes. There's probably a bigger pattern in here. If you wanted to look for it, it wouldn't really help you with a trading day, but there may be a bigger pattern in here working to the downside or even working to the upside. and that might better explain that, but I don't think the bigger pattern really helps you, and I didn't even look for it. So it'd be really kind of hard to confirm. The way you would do it is try to find it off maybe the low swings down here and drag it up and see how prices reacted of it off the top. Like I said, it wouldn't give you any trades, so really you're just better off to stay with the shorter term stuff anyway, because that's how I would tell you to find your trades, even if there was a for sure larger pattern. So I hope that makes sense. But anyway, I'm going to wrap it up. We'll come back tomorrow. Tomorrow's Thursday. We'll wrap up our week. It's another short week with the holiday here, and my eyes still about the same. I'm seeing okay. I just can't really stare at the chart very long. My vision is still a little out of whack. As far as my eye vision in that particular eye, it's clear and I can see out of it now, but my depth perception is still off. And when you try to look at something and concentrate on it, it's not real easy. It gives you a headache. Your eyes get tired real easy. So it's still hard for me to look at this chart for more than 20 or 30 minutes at a time, and then I don't feel like looking at it again the rest of the day generally. So I'm still not really doing much chart watching right now. I'm just kind of coming in the morning and doing my other things, and doing the mid-morning chart, and then doing the chart lesson in the afternoon, and in between I may glance at the chart here and there, and if I see something that just really, just happen to look at the chart at the same time there's a good trade setting up, I may try to take a trade. I've taken maybe 3 or 4 trades since I've been back. Nothing much more than that, though. So anyway, appreciate all the emails. I'm still a little slower answering the emails, especially I'm pretty much caught up, but I'm just, like I said, when it comes to looking at charts and trades, still a little bit hard for me to concentrate for very long. So I might read a few emails and answer a few questions, and then I may not want to feel like doing it again until the next morning. So I may still be running a day or so behind on answering the questions, but I'll get to them. And appreciate your continued prayers and thoughts and the emails and so forth. But I'm going to wrap it up today. This is Mac with PriceActionTradingSystem.com, and we'll see you next time.